Before we ask you to start writing this week, we're going to look at a writing model. This is a fictional narrative writing model. And our prompt is to write a fictional narrative about characters who survive a natural disaster. So we're just going to read through this. This is on two separate projectables. So we're going to read through it and then look through the labels as things that identify characteristics of a good fictional narrative. Okay? So follow with me. One day, Caroline and her parents were watching the weather reports on TV. A powerful hurricane was headed toward them. Great beginning, sets up the entire story. We already have been introduced to the characters and we know what's happening. Okay? So now we're going to get a little feel of the characters' feelings, and this is the middle portion of our story. Caroline's mom and dad began collecting supplies and making plans, but Caroline was worried. What if the power goes out, she asked. What if we can't cook? What if there are no lights? Well, that's why we're getting all of these things together, her mother said. We have plenty of batteries, flashlights, bottled water, and canned food. We'll be all set if anything happens. That night, Caroline lay awake and listened for the storm. At first, the wind gently rustled the leaves, but later the branches scratched against her window like fingernails on a chalkboard. Oh, that's the worst sound. Caroline got more and more nervous, but finally she fell asleep. Here we continue the middle of the story with vivid details and dialogue. By morning, the wind was howling. Trees were bending back and forth, and the rain pounded on the roof. Then the power went out. The house was as dark as night. I can't see a thing, Caroline said. What are we going to do now? Don't worry, her dad said. We'll make this day into an adventure. Caroline and her parents lit candles. As the wind and rain shook the trees outside, they told stories and played flashlight tag. Caroline's parents even let her set up a tent. It's like camping inside, she said. Before long, the rain stopped and the lights came back on. Mom, can we turn the lights back off? Caroline asked. We were having so much fun in the dark. So let's think about the things that we saw in this example of a fictional narrative. So what makes it great? Well, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. In the beginning, we meet the characters, we hear the problem, and it sets the setting. We also get some of the characters' feelings in a good fictional narrative, and that gets the readers involved. Okay? In the middle, events are told in a logical sequence. We have time-ordered transition words and phrases that show us the order of events. And then, another great feature of fictional narrative is vivid details and dialogue. And that helps us to paint a clear picture. We also have a clear ending. And in the ending, the problem is resolved, and it kind of gives us closure to the story, like in this example here. Okay, let's look for some transition words. If we look back at the first page of this story, in this last paragraph, we see several transition words. That night, at first, later, and finally. These are all great time order transition words and phrases that tell us the order that things happened. Okay. We also have transition words here. By morning, then, as the wind and rain shook, and before long. Those are all transition words that help us tell the passage of time and the order of events. Good writers include vivid details to make their fictional narrative stronger. Vivid details can help the reader picture exactly what's happening and make the writing sound more interesting and exciting. So here is a connection to your story, Dog of the Sea Waves, this week. Instead of, they jumped off the boat, Manu went under the water, the author used vivid details, and this is what he wrote from pages 323 and 324. The earth shuddered, and the five brothers jumped. In an instant, he was gone. Think about that. Why is the author's sentence more interesting and exciting? We're going to practice. Our focus trait this week is using vivid details, and we're going to practice that in your reader's notebook. For your practice using vivid details, turn to page 135 in your reader's notebook. It says that good story writers use vivid details to paint a clear picture. Compare the sentence without vivid details to the one with. So here's the sentence without. The beach was beautiful in the morning. Well, I agree, beaches usually are beautiful, but let's be more vivid. So here's the sentence with vivid details. The sunrise cast a warm glow over the golden sands of the empty beach. Boy, is that somewhere I want to be. That paints an amazingly clear picture of what the beach looks like in the morning. So what you're going to do on this page is to rewrite the sentence adding vivid details. You can use ideas from the box below, or you can be creative. Think of some on your own. So let's do the first one. They had to cross the ocean to get home. How about they had to paddle across the sparkling blue ocean to get home? It's definitely adding more details and painting a clearer picture of how they're crossing the ocean and what the ocean looks like. You're going to do 2 through 5 on your own, and make sure to share your vivid detail sentences with your learning adult at home.